Hello everyone, my name is Jason and I am an ISFP. You are watching my ISFP journey. Thank you so much for watching. I want to talk a little bit about all 16 personality types. I'm not going to talk about them one by one, so no, this is not going to be an hour-long video. And I also want to talk a little bit in this video about why I am doing these videos. So, before I understood personality type and anything about MBTI or socionics or, like objective personality, if you're familiar with them, or, there are different viewpoints out there on all of this. But before I knew anything about any of it, I went through life largely thinking that everyone perceived the world the same way. And of course, that way was the way I perceived the world. I didn't realize there was more than one way to perceive the world. And therefore, when I saw other people behaving in certain ways that seemed inconsistent to me with reality, I tended to judge them pretty harshly and think relatively bad thoughts about those people, okay? After coming to an understanding or beginning to come to an understanding, it's not like I've come to a complete understanding. I mean, the cognitive functions are very mysterious and different personality types can be very mysterious. But after coming to the understanding that I have been able to come to so far, I began to realize that other people see the world so differently and they think about the world so differently and they process information so differently, and that it was really wrong of me. I don't really know what other word to use, although it was born out of ignorance. It was really wrong of me to look at other people who perceive the world differently, think about the world differently, and be so judgmental about them and their way of thinking, okay? So I went from kind of being high and mighty and haughty and thinking I was so great and looking down on people who clearly were not viewing and perceiving the world the way I was. I went from thinking that way to really starting to be humbled by the fact that I was gaining this understanding that other people saw the world so differently. Well, one time I was talking to an INFP who, by the way, is an awesome human being. He's just one of my absolute favorite human beings. But I was trying to explain to him the way that I was seeing life. And what I was really doing, I'm not sure how much I understood this at the time, but what I was really doing was I was kind of talking to him about extroverted sensing and about how extroverted sensing came out in me, okay? And he said to me, "You're crazy. Like, you need help." All right, now, he and I had a very close friendship, and we could say things like that to one another. So it wasn't out of line at all, okay? But this was still relatively early in my time of trying to understand personality type, and I don't even know yet if I was really studying the cognitive functions. And it really got me to thinking, like, is that true? I mean, am I like unbalanced? Like, do I need to seek counseling for the way that what I would describe now as for the way that extroverted sensing was presenting itself in my thinking and ultimately in my behavior? And so over time, I've realized, no, I don't necessarily need help. It is helpful to talk these things out. There is value to think about them, because we do have things that we do because of our cognitive functions that are not always the most beneficial or helpful or wonderful or good things to do. So we do need to be aware of our cognitive functions and the weaknesses that we have because of them. And sometimes we do need to make changes in our behavior and to the greatest degree that we can in the way that we think. But what I came to realize, and what I have come to realize since then, is that every personality type, I don't care which of the 16 types you are, or, pardon me, or if there are, if those 16 types can be broken down even more, then I don't care what type you are. Whatever type you are awesome. You have something awesome to give to this world, something that the world desperately needs. That's why you exist. Your type exists because if it didn't, the world would be unbalanced. It needs you. Now, at the same time, you have things about you because of your brain wiring, because of your function stack, because of your personality type, where you're kind of crazy too. Things that you are way too much in one direction or the other. Now, a lot of times, in the ways that we are wonderful and contribute to the world, we might not see it. And then at other times, we can be very proud and we can see or think we see our contributing factor, what we donate or what we contribute to the world. And we can even become too proud of it, too haughty, think ourselves think more highly of ourselves than we ought to. But on the flip side of that, sometimes we can see our downsides more clearly. We can see our weaknesses, our failures. We can fail sometimes to see the contribution we make to the world and focus on the ways that we seemingly, let's say, don't fit in, although sometimes we don't want to fit in, the ways that we consider ourselves to be failures, the ways that other people will say, you're crazy, you need help. Now, what I think is important for all of us to understand, no matter what personality type that we are, is that because we have these blind spots, these areas where we are either contributing and not seeing it, or we're off in the wrong direction and not seeing it, we need to remember that other people, especially people of other personality types, are likely to see these things more clearly than we do. So when people of other personality types say, I really love this, whatever it is about you, you really contribute this wonderful thing to the world or to me or to our group, you should listen to that because they're probably seeing something wonderful about you that you're missing. At the same time, let me say it this way. At the same time, there are always going to be people, frequently from other personality types, that are going to see your downside. Let's say they're going to see you're crazy, and they're going to, in some cases, be mean to you about it. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't listen to some extent and say, okay, maybe this person really is seeing my weaknesses and crazy, and maybe I should listen to this person because I could learn and grow. But sometimes we just need to remember that the reason a person from another personality type thinks that we're wacko is because they're perceiving the world completely different than we are. If we suddenly perceived the world the way they do, we might think that we're wacko too. So I say all of that to, first of all, really for two reasons. First of all, to encourage you. And no matter what personality type you are, please know that the world needs you and whatever it is that you have to offer. And also that when people of other personality types say, you're crazy, I don't follow your logic at all, you're wacko. There may be some value in listening to that a little bit, but don't listen to it too much because they may just not be able to see your value because they don't perceive the world from the same vantage point. Now, this leads me to really the heart and soul of why I created this YouTube channel in the first place. Because I know what it's like to look down on people who I know now are other personality types. And because I also know what it feels like to have people in my life, and I'm not just talking about my friend who said that I needed help, okay? I don't just mean him. He is a friend. But I know what it feels like to have other people in this world who don't see my value look at me and the way that I perceive the world and the way that I function within the world and say, there's something about you that's deficient. There's something wrong. The way that you see the world doesn't make sense. You're crazy, whatever. I know what that feels like too. So I really, this next thing that I want to say is really to you ISFPs out there, and to you people who know ISFPs. I created this channel because I want to, first of all, say openly and honestly, even when I have to throw myself under the bus, even when I have to be brutal with myself in front of you all, I want to openly and honestly say, this is who I am, so that other people who are like me will not feel alone. But I also want all of you ISFPs out there who are watching these videos to comment and say, even if it's just a little comment, just say, I'm an ISFP, I agree with you what you're saying. Or I'm an ISFP, I don't relate to what you're saying. In any of my videos where I'm talking about what it's like to be an ISFP. Because I want, well, for myself, first of all, I want to know if the things that are true about me are only true about me because I'm are only true about me because it's just me, or they're true about me because I'm an ISFP. And if they're true about me because I'm an ISFP, then they're going to be true about all ISFPs, or at least the vast majority, okay? So I, for myself, want to know when I put a statement out there about what it's like to be me, and I'm saying, and I believe that it's like that because I'm an ISFP, I want to know if that's true. I'm okay with hearing you ISFPs say, no, that's just you. But I also am good with hearing you ISFPs say, yeah, I totally relate to that too. So please leave comments on the videos that you watch of mine to that effect, okay? So that I know if it's just me or if it's all of us. But then also I want ISFPs, if you do relate to what I'm saying, and whatever video I make that you may be watching somewhere along the line, if you relate to it and you know somebody who has basically said you're crazy for thinking that way, or you're crazy for behaving the way that you do, and then you hear me say it, and then you see a whole list of comments underneath from other ISFPs going, yes, I relate, this is true, I agree with this, I want you to be able to either for yourself say, well, I'm not crazy because I'm not alone. This is the way I'm wired, and that's okay. Or to, even if you want to go so far as to say, I'm going to show this video to this person who called me crazy and say, see, I'm not alone. Here's somebody else. And look at all of these comments below that are confirming that there are a whole bunch of people who see the world the way that I see the world. And if you're not an ISFP, but you know an ISFP, I want you to be able to not just watch my videos. I'm one person, okay? I could be dead wrong. I might express a viewpoint that is true for me, but all of the other ISFPs in the world might go, what are you talking about? But I want you, the non-ISFPs, who have ISFPs in your life, to be able to watch these videos and then read the comments to see if they confirm what I'm saying or not as a general consensus among ISFPs, and be able to say, okay, the ISFP in my life is not crazy. I can see why they think that way. And I'm not saying that like I'm doing this amazing job of explaining it. Sometimes I might be hitting the nail on the head and sometimes I might not. But I know that as an ISFP, there are times when I have a lot of trouble telling the people in my life why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I think the way I think, why I feel the way that I feel. Sometimes I just don't even want to. Like, I don't want to have to explain myself. I just want to be who I am and leave me alone, okay? And then even when I feel confident to explain myself, there are still times when, the opportunity might not be right, or I might not want to have that conflict. There are a whole host of reasons why a person might not defend his or her own thoughts or actions, all right? So I'm kind of putting my thoughts out there because I want anybody else out there who relates to what I'm saying, but doesn't want to have to voice that, or maybe can't find the words to voice that. I want those people to go, here's somebody else who has said something that I can relate to. Now, I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to claim like I'm doing a great job, or I'm a good representative for ISFPs in general. I'm putting my thoughts out there. I'm opening up and putting them out there, and I'm hoping that all of you ISFPs out there will let me know. Am I accurately representing you, or am I not? But I would have loved to have known that I wasn't alone in some of the ways that I thought and felt when I kind of felt like people thought I was out of my mind. And I enjoy my life better now, knowing that the way that I perceive the world and the judgments that I make about the world based on those perceptions are not crazy, and I'm not alone. And there are plenty of people out there who see things the way I see them, feel the way I feel. And that's going to be true of every personality type, right? I mean, if you're an INTP, aren't you going to feel better about yourself knowing that you are a part of a group of humans all around the globe that perceive the world the same way you do and tend to make judgments about what they perceive in very similar ways? And all the more so if you find yourself surrounded by people who aren't like you. I mean, just think about my INTP daughter who's being raised by an ISFP dad. We have literally zero cognitive functions in the same spot, okay? All 4 of my top cognitive functions are the opposite of her 4, and then not even in the same order. And then she's being raised by an INFP mom, okay? So yes, they both have the same second and third function, but their first and fourth are different. And then she has an INFP brother, an ISTP brother, an ISFP sister, and an ESFP sister. I mean, if she didn't know that she was an INTP and that there are plenty of other INTPs out there just like her, I mean, just like her in many respects, she would probably feel like she was crazy because she's so different than everyone else in her family, right? Or think about my ESFP daughter, who is the only one in our family who has a perceiving function as her first function. The rest of us all have judging functions as our first functions, okay? Or, think about, anybody really, okay? Anybody. I'll give you an example. My wife. My wife is an INFP. She has an ENFJ sister, an ESTJ sister, and an ISFP an ISFJ mom, okay? So there are a lot of differences between those other 3 and an INFP. Now, there are some similarities between each one, but there are a lot of differences too. So a person can go through life, especially depending on who they're surrounded by, really thinking, I'm crazy, I'm weird, I'm totally different, there's no one else in this world like me. And I know that if you're into personality type, you probably already realize a lot of what I'm saying, but I just want to put it out there, how I see the world and how I function in this world as an ISFP, just so that if there are any ISFPs who can relate to what I'm saying, they can know, hey, cool, I'm not alone. Okay, that's why I'm doing this, but also I'm doing this primarily for the ISFPs, but I just want to take this opportunity to say that I don't care what personality type you are awesome. You have something awesome to offer the world. I may not know what it is. I don't need to know what it is. I don't have to live your life, but just know that you do have something, and you should not discount that, and don't let the people who call you crazy because they're a different personality type and can't perceive things the way you do, don't let them convince you that you're weird or that you don't belong or that you don't have something valuable to offer, because you do, okay? Whatever it is, you do. Our world needs all 16 types, or if there are more than that, because they can be broken down even further, we need them all. So be awesome, whatever type you are, and be proud and happy that you are what you are, because our world needs you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I don't really know why this whole thought process popped into my head, but I just needed to say it. So here I am saying it. I hope that you find it valuable. If you do find it valuable, would you please hit the like button? If you are viewing this and you have not subscribed to this channel yet, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. That would be really great and mean a whole lot to me. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourself an awesome day. Bye now.